hello. Thank you so much for joining me in this conversation today here at Community Summit 2022, and it's a pleasure to be chatting with you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yes, and hey, before we dive into the sort of core of the conversation, I was wondering if we just kind of briefly introduce yourself and who you are, what your role is, and unpack a little bit of what your company does.
Good. Hi, my name is Bert Stegeman, CEO of FourVision. We are a specialist on Dynamics 365, the HR module in F&O.
Got it.
We do that since for more than 15 years, and I always say we do two things. We make software and we implement software, and we implement because we know that also what's missing, therefore we create additional functionality.
Got it.
Always products, and to make the product, I always say from good to great.
I love that.
And we deliver that, we do implementation from New Zealand to Canada.
Okay.
We have an international group of people, almost 100 people, working together. We got subsidiaries in the US, in Europe, in India, and in Australia.
Oh, wow. So you've got quite a network of folks employed all over the world, delivering things to probably customers all over the world.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's funny you said the good to great. It reminds me of that book that came out, Going From Good to Great, several years back. That's kind of dating myself a bit, but I remember that book quite distinctly. And what I like about what you've highlighted there is the fact that you found gaps sometimes in either functionality or needs that companies have, specifically maybe in certain industries or the type of maybe product they're making or service they're providing, and that you're coming in making and creating. And I'm assuming there's some sort of feedback loop with your customers, so it really feeds into this co-creation mindset. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah, I recognize that fully. Our mission is to improve the business life of our HR professionals and employees and managers.
Right.
So a total package, so everyone can work with the products. Mm-hmm. We have apps created on the HR module, and these apps, some of these apps we created because there wasn't that kind of functionality. In some cases, there is slightly some functionality in the core, but not good enough.
Got it.
And we created them, but also during implementation, like performance management is a nice example. Everybody is doing performance management slightly different.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's a collaboration between the customer and ourselves. So we don't want to ruin or mess our product. We still want to serve them, and the feedback we can create. Not everyone is capable to give the proper feedback.
Okay.
We want to expand the product to a level that also our biggest customers are saying that's good enough, or our biggest prospects in the market.
Right, because sometimes you work with a specific customer and meet their need, and you're like, wow, this could probably help a lot of other customers out there.
It's never customization, it's always generic functionality, configurable, so you can use it for a customer in the US, but also in Australia.
Exactly, yeah, and I love that co-creation mindset that you've adopted, because I think that's very, very important. Instead of trying to shoehorn a customer into some box, you're saying, we're open to work with you and create some flexibility in the solution. That it is very flexible, but recognize the gaps. We're here to work with you and deliver specifically to your needs. And speaking of that, and the discussions you're having with folks around what those needs are, a lot of times what I've seen a lot of actually the last few years that the pandemic brought around was it obviously disrupted a lot of our personal lives, and even in our business lives. I mean, nobody was not impacted, I should say, by it in some way. But what happened also was this shift of expectations. A lot of people changed their sort of personal life habits. You know, we wanted more things on demand now, delivered to our door. You know, those expectations were somewhat there, but they just got enhanced and made more so through that. Has this caused some sort of shift of the conversations you're having with customers around like different sets of expectations they're looking for now, or maybe they want things faster because things got accelerated a lot during the pandemic as well? So what kind of conversations are you having?
Well, first of all, it's 3 years ago when we visited for the last time the summit. So in these 3 years, it happens a lot.
Yes.
So HR has the highest attention because suddenly people are missing employees. There's a big deficit in in your existing staff, and people are leaving, disappearing, going to early to retirement. So suddenly everyone is looking for staff.
Well, if I can interject real quick, are you finding on that staff too, is that there's a recognition of like skills gaps that are going on too, or
not even skill gaps? It's a matter of where are my employees gone?
just like a headcount issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of people left organizations because of the pandemic. Think about, okay, what is it really what I like, or is this the work I like when I'm only working from home?
Got it.
So it's more than only your work; it's also your colleagues, the building. So people left, but the most of the customers, they didn't foresee that. I think everyone, but now it's a matter of more attention from an HR perspective of how do we keep our organization. The wellness is important, so we create tools to have a quick questionnaire. Something, okay, I'm still missing. Do you need to learn something about your colleagues, just to measure and figure out, is there a flight risk of certain people or certain jobs are becoming a position coming over.
Right. Yeah.
So you want to be much more in control and getting less surprises.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, on the getting the right people on board, so your talent acquisition is also becoming more and more important.
Right.
And the bridge for that is the onboarding process. So
Yes.
we also created an onboarding app to make sure that the moment someone is signing and the moment is really starting the first day, that you still are aligned with that new candidate, and that it's becoming a proper employee with all kind of tools, mobile friendly of course, but just to make sure that there's no way there's any gap in attention between the candidate and you as an employer.
And something that struck me when you're in that portion you were just mentioning there is that obviously with the lack of headcount, and we talked about some bleed over to that skills gap because you're running to hire the right people into those roles, for the have the right skill sets. But I like the fact that you're doing that sort of wellness check-ins and things like that. But on the flip side, if you put on from the business perspective, it's almost like you can get a forecast peek into where there's gaps in certain departments of your organization that may need more people on their teams. So it's not a negative thing, but from a business perspective, it's just saying, hey, where do we need to fill seats basically within the organization, or we're going to be hurting in the long run because we're not either serving our customers, or we're hiring in the wrong people. What can we measure there? Because maybe a misunderstanding through the hiring process. So there's a lot can be determined from that data, and it sounds like you've really equipped your customers to do that.
Yeah, and even better, it's when we talk about it, also succession planning. To make sure what kind of person is ready for the next step versus what are key positions inside the organization.
Got it.
So to create a kind of awareness internally with what happened now after the pandemic, people are much more aware of, all right, so which positions are really key. So do we have already the next person ready for that position? Or do we need to change our approach in talent acquisition and internal mobility?
Well, and I think that helps the companies get a stronger footing of where they are, and sort of just kind of trying to guess, put your finger to the wind, if you will, trying to figure things out.
It's unpredictable, but it's, I'm coming from the Netherlands, so we had a great airport, Schiphol, always very fluid.
I've actually flew there. Yeah.
But nowadays, it's a lot of people are not there. So the people working in security, they disappeared. It's not easy to get someone immediately back there. And the people who are looking for the luggage, they also were underpaid. So once you pay more, they came back. But so it's a new balance is coming in there. The power is more to the employee side than the employer side.
Right. Yeah. It's great to hear some of that shift in expectations, kind of the needs you're meeting with your customers because of the expectations they have with their customers. It's because that's the ultimate goal, is helping the customer's customer at the end of the day, because you're helping that business stay empowered and scalable at the end of the day in the areas they need. Now, speaking of some of those discussions, shifts that's going on, another area that's been shifting maybe for you is, and your company is, when you're talking with your customers, are you seeing a shift in how they're wanting to blend Microsoft products now? Because Microsoft's made it kind of clear they're wanting to layer in, say, Power Platform things on top of the finance and operations solutions and so forth. And are you finding there's more of an open discussion around some things in that area?
We are in we choose a spot, an area which was not always that easy. HR.
Right.
The HR module was carved out the ERP system, and after 5 years it's back. So that was difficult to deal with for explaining it, because we are the experts, so they're coming to us, so what to do. Now it's back. The story is becoming much easier because HR is feeding finance and the other way around. So that makes it easier. But what we also see, and every year we see better progress, and that the office tools and the business applications are coming together. So what we are doing now is the employee experience instead of the Ken experience. It's positioned on Microsoft via Viva, but what we're doing is putting in much more content, so that it really will be the first step for an employee logging in. They can see the full potential of HR-related solution, which can be from Microsoft, from our side, but also other third-party solutions. There's hardly no customer who has everything for one vendor, and also the way how we try to deliver the end-to-end solutions. But if you got a good recruitment solution and you almost married with that solution, so we want to maintain it. Although we've got excellent alternatives for that, but sometimes it's not the case. So, but getting access to these tools can also be done via employee experience.
All right. Well, it's wonderful, because I know I really enjoyed the cross integration with the Office suite. That's wonderful to be able to do things straight from, say, Outlook, for example, and simply push it or pull it from the various applications. And they've done a wonderful job of doing that. And I personally have built many Power BI tools that just pull that data out, even HR data out, to kind of give those HR managers a peek into what's going on across the organization. So it's great to hear that you're really, again, back to that co-creation and listening to your customers to help them with their needs. That's phenomenal.
We also changed a little bit the approach. We're not saying HR for Dynamics 365, because the platform is still key, but it's more for the Microsoft technology, the Microsoft stack. Because of these worlds are now coming more and more together. It will take, I think, a couple of years, but then you got a one-stop shop for your applications.
I've seen a lot of companies even sort of rebrand. They take Microsoft out and brand it for their own. There'll be like HR for XYZ company, for example, and to make it personalized. I've seen even go that route. So the employees, the employees feel like it's.
We are, air quotes, independent software vendor. We're not. We are happy that we are in the Microsoft world for 15 years. We're known for there, but it's known that there's a lot to win. But also we're very strong now for the big usual competition. We're now able with HR to compete against the Workdays or an SAP. That took us a long route. And but the bar is now that we are at that level that we really can win deals like. We've got a company now, 65,000 employees. They decided for HR and finance. That would never happen without us. I know success of many fathers, but we're definitely one of them.
So speaking of that company, what kind of challenges were they facing in some of their HR
one
areas?
Of our well-known is also Coca-Cola in Africa. So it's they're manufacturing and do distribution. We do it together with Microsoft Consultancy Services. So they do implementation of supply chain, finance, and the whole stuff. We do in the HR part. So we work together, but everybody has their own stream and for development. And it's these types of customers are highly demanding of us. But they also expect that you push back. They say, well, there's a disbalance in power if you look at the number of employees, but they expect that you, as a specialist, is able also to give them the right direction in where they're heading to. They're looking for bot technology, AI in HR, so that's for them also something they're looking at, and they're expecting that we also getting in that path to support their internal employees.
Once as we're kind of winding down, if you kind of think about it, a lot of these companies are looking to partners and solution providers to become almost like a guide, if you think about it, and a true partnership, but a guide, knowing we've been down this path before, it's very familiar to us, maybe a different industry or things, but there's a lot of familiar territory. And to your point, if they're looking for leading us down the right path. But as you go down the path, you need to avoid this. There's going to be this hurdle coming up, or we're going smooth, or on an even keel. So I think that's what we're looking for, is not only expertise technically, but also from a business perspective. How do we position the technology to enable our business? So, well, thank you so much for joining the conversation today. It's been a pleasure to chat with you and learn a bit more about your organization and the amazing things you're doing with the co-creation efforts with your customers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got
so
a happy
much.
customer.
Yes.
That's all about.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.